All right, guys. So we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere else that we could possibly put ourselves. So today we're going to be talking about some organization level points. So, guys, we know that the internet has been a great resource for the development of real estate in general, and it's given us a lot of tools and resources and able to accomplish a lot of tasks. It's opened up knowledge base, places like YouTube, places like Masterclass. Any of these details are great avenues to retain great information. But the problem is, a lot of times we overconsume. So today, what we're going to try and do is simplify that overconsumption so we can make sure that we can manage it in some semblance of a organized method. So to do that, we're going to jump right into it so we can make sure that we're on point. So today, what we're going to be going over is a couple bases. The first is going to be kind of why this is so important to make sure that we're getting true reality when we're dealing with things. So real quick, let me share my screen up. Chrome tab, there we go. All right, so the first part that we're going to talk about today is the simple point of how do we be successful with organizing what we're doing. So every day we're looking for content, right? So if we're looking for content, what we need to make sure of is that that content is going to be top of mind, okay? And that we can relate back to that content, because the problem is, on a traditional sense, we have 100 tabs, right? So my big pet peeve is having 4, 5, 10, or 15 tabs open on any time, okay? Now there's a couple reasons that this is bad. The first is it eats your computer strength completely, meaning that you're actually operating your computer at a lower pace because you have so many tabs open. It actually is proven that having less tabs and then opening when you need it actually is faster getting to it than anything else. Now, a lot of my my admins say that, well, I have to have this one open so I can accomplish this and do back and forth. I get it. It still takes you too much time. So how do we put that into a category where instead of having multiple tabs open, how can we be more successful with it and make sure that we're getting true use out of what we're trying to accomplish? So let's go ahead and just kind of show you what that looks like in this. All right, so basically, when we're looking at a general tab, there's a couple places that I want you to pay attention to. So just making sure you can see my entire screen. So as we scroll through, at the top of your general Chrome, and I'm operating in Chrome here. I understand some of you may use Safari or other browser tabs. They have very similar stuff. But as talked about last week, I use Google Chrome because it is kind of that universe of Google that kind of keeps us all on the same track. So the first thing that I want to identify is this little thing right here. If this doesn't have a picture of you that matches your Google account, you need to log into your actual Google, and you need to make sure your sync is on, and that way anything that you do here is also being synced between your mobile devices and other computers if you elect to log into other computers. Now the next thing that I want you to kind of take a look at is right below that, you're going to have your reading list. Now a reading list is kind of like a bookmark, but more focused on what you need to go back to. All right, so let's say that you open an Inman article that morning, but you don't have enough time to read it. Drop it into your reading list, and that way you can actually have the ability to rotate back to it at a later time. So if you'll notice, when I open my reading list, I have a few places that I've had unread. Okay, so I have some information, and some of these are old, right? So I have a 284 days, 308 days, 308 days. These are ones that I haven't gotten to, but I do have them in my reading list, so that way I can get back to them as soon as possible when I have a free moment to go through and read through. Basically, the reading list is a great place. I actually clear out my reading list. These I haven't gotten to, so just kind of gives me a free functionality. Now, the second one is what I actually want to go over today, and that is your bookmarks, okay? So across the top of your bar, you should have the first thing that operates, which is your apps. This is a great place to store all the stuff you deal with and operate with on a regular basis. You can also open your web store back in the bottom right here to open up and add more detail to your web store. All right. Now, the reason I say this is a great tool is third-party apps. We talked about this when we were working over to Workspace. Third-party apps give you that functionality of things that will actually benefit you, and maybe that you're thinking outside the box, they're thinking outside the box as well. Now, the next one is going to be a bookmarks tab. Now, this is a great place to kind of organize your bookmarks. So the first part I'm going to talk about is actually what we're going over today. So I have a class demonstration tab that I created earlier today. So when I open up this class demonstration tab, you'll notice that I have a few other folders in here, okay? When I go on here, for instance, the other day I was working out and trying to figure out how to round robin a bunch of phone numbers whenever somebody calls into the office. So I pulled all the information as I'm reading through this, and I saved it to one tab. Now, why did I do that? Because if I need to come back to it or I need to shut down my computer's going to operate still at highest pace, while at the same time, I've saved all the details of what I need to do. So I'll show you how to actually bookmark in a moment, but I want to show one of the best benefits that I've found, and that is if I right click on this, I have the ability to open all these tabs right here, right? So for that person that wants to have multiple tabs open, if you have a nice bookmarked folder that has everything that you need in one place, you can open all those tabs at once and then close them down as well. So I have that currently right now with my daily links. So every morning when my day opens up, I open up my daily links. I click on here, I right click, and I click on open all tabs. In one moment, I get my first tab, which is my email, my second tab, which is my daily schedule for the day, my third, which is a FirePoint lead dashboard, my fourth, which is my Infusionsoft or CRM dashboard, and then my fifth, which operates in my Flex MLS. So by one simple click, I've opened all those tabs in one simple operation. Okay. Now, what that gives me the opportunity to do is if I need something really quick, I can open it up very fast. Now, you'll notice in all these, I have a little star up in the top right that allows me to edit this bookmark. Now, you'll notice I can actually edit it, but if I open up a general page, okay, so let's just say MLS search, and I want to actually create this as a bookmark. If you'll notice, this one is blued out, whereas this one is not. If I select this information, it allows me to add a bookmark or add to a reading list. If I add it to the reading list, for instance, let's use what I was talking about earlier. If I go to my Inman articles, and I want an article that I want to read, I can add that to my reading list. So let's say that this one, how not to lose your real estate license. That's a good one to learn about. So if I wanted to save that to my reading list, I would simply click this little star at the top and I would save it to my reading list. Once I do that, you'll notice a little red mark that comes up. I open that up and here it is, okay? Now, if I wanted to bookmark this page, I could bookmark it, add a bookmark, and when I do that, it brings up my last folder used, or I can click on more and add it to any bookmark or add it to a new folder. Now, I would suggest that maybe you edit the name, but the URL is going to stay the same and allows you to be able to look at information. Now, why is this something that I'm even talking about? Why is it something that I think that needs to be talked about on a regular occasion? Is basically because what we end up having issues with is we lose track of the one thing that we will never gain more of, and that is our time. We get too focused. For instance, right now, I have 7, 8 tabs open. I'm not able to productively use those tabs. So what I need to do is I need to make sure as I'm using stuff, I'm shutting it down. And if I need it back, I need to be able to go back to that information quickly so that way it gives me the opportunity to make success out of those details that I'm working on. Okay. Now, what that also comes down to is this. If I operate my nice clean method by going to my bookmarks tab, and then I say, for instance, operate on, I had the other day when I'm going to Hawaii, right? So what are the things that I'm going to do in Hawaii? I've saved all those items to make sure that if I wanted to go in through and look at all the stuff that I'm looking at currently in Hawaii, I can pull that information up. So I have in here a dolphin encounter, the Jeep Wrangler that I wanted to rent. I have 5 favorite waterfalls to go to. And basically it allows me to look at all that stuff. And I don't know why I have a dot loop in there, but I do. So it allows me to look at all the stuff that I'm looking at any time. I can shut this down, but because I've bookmarked it, what it allows me now to do is be able to function and use those things at a different time when I can bring back focus. And that's the real key here, guys, is focusing on what you're actually trying to accomplish in the moment. So when I'm not dealing with this, say I've used my 15, 30 minutes, 40 minutes of personal time to plan a trip, well, then I can knock that out, take it off my bookmarks, or take it off of the system and then move on to something else. Say, for instance, I want to go back to my Twilio setup. Well, I can open that up and once again, open all 3 tabs, be able to read through the information that I was reading through previously, or go back to information, okay? This gives me a great tool and resource to be able to save information in a fast method. Okay. Now, granted, it still takes some organization level on your part to make sure that you're using it. But the other thing that this has is also the ability for things like mobile bookmarks. So if you'll notice, I have a ton of stuff in my other bookmarks. I have a bunch of Zillow hack links and so on and so forth. But I also have the ability to go ahead and go in and fill up a bunch of different stuff. So I have a bookmark cleanup too, because as much as bookmarks are great, sometimes I don't need them in the longevity of what I'm trying to do. So I drop them into my actual cleanup section, and that allows me to still have it in here, right? But I don't have it all the way at top of mind, once again, clouding up my bookmarks bar. Okay. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be a folder. I personally use folders, but you can also have other bookmarks. For instance, if I wanted to just bookmark Gmail in general, I could open up Gmail and I could bookmark it directly to. Now, you'll notice mine is actually set here. So if I wanted to move my bookmark from one place to another, I can do that. And I could just move it straight to my actual dashboard. All right. So taking it all the way back up to my bookmarks bar, and then saving that. And now if you'll notice, it pops up right here. And by just closing this, I still can open up that Gmail inbox at any one time. Guys, this is a great resource and a great tool to help us through the process of making sure that we're actually being productive in what we're doing every single day. And what I would say is this, as I mentioned, you can never catch up on your time. You can never find more time. So what this has is the ability to close down and focus on what you're actually accomplishing. Guys, it is a proven fact. Every book that you read on organization, you have to kind of keep a schedule. You have to focus on certain things at certain times in order to feel emotionally the fact that you've accomplished something. You know, I have a notice here that somebody puts out that they have 100 tabs open at any one time. So 100 tabs at any one time is not beneficial to anybody. And because you can't even know where things are at. Whereas if you take that simple moment and go up to your little star up in the top right-hand corner of your book or of your address bar, press that bookmark button. If you need to come back to it, that's great. Come back to it when you can focus on it. And the same thing goes for emails and so on and so forth. Having that bookmark functionality allows you to focus and allows you to pay attention to what you're doing. And it also means that you can open up multiple tabs, but they're actually focused tabs rather than just having opened tabs galore. Now, I will tell you, and I'm going to show you one last thing. One of my favorite tools to kind of show everybody is that you have to be careful with what you're doing every single day when it comes to your usage on your computer. All right. So I'm going to bring this up real quick. And if I use a function that is called Activity Monitor, basically this Activity Monitor allows me, let me share my other screen here real quick. Okay, you guys can see this. So basically in my Activity Monitor, I want to make sure that my system is operating at premium aspect. And you'll notice as my Google Chrome is open, I have a bunch of things that are called Google Chrome helpers. So these are rendering machines that are basically keeping all those tabs live and active. And if you'll notice, they're using up a large percentage of my actual CPU or computer usage. So for instance, right now I have this tab open. This tab is actually running all the stuff that's running through StreamYard right now. So we are publicly running. This is what changes how you actually use your computer and how you can be successful with your computer. Now, keep in mind, you don't need to know all that information, but what I will say is this. You need to make sure that you're using this productively. The reading tab is great. Nick mentioned that he uses that he thinks that the reading tab is a great tab or a great tool to use. Guys, the reading tab allows you to, once again, keep that knowledge top of mind. But if you can't get to it right now, that's okay. You don't have to remember which bookmark you closed or if you need to shut down your computer, because this is what tends to happen. You open those 100 tabs, right, that Andrew says, he does too. You open those 100 tabs, okay, and then your computer starts freaking out. It can't move, and then you have to shut it down. Well, guess what? Those 100 tabs don't come back, which means you might have had something in there that you needed to work on, and now you need to go back to it. Well, you can't. So you need to make sure that you're using that productively. Guys, I know this is not really real estate oriented today, but this is basically just keeping your general business organized so you can be successful in how you move forward. So thank you for your time, guys. We're sitting at about 16 minutes. We try to keep it to about 15 minutes long. Remember, my contact information is below. You're more than welcome to always connect with me. Go through a couple other tips that I personally use to make myself just a little more organized. Remember, guys, as we scale our business, we feel like we become busier and busier. What we need to do is scale smart, and that way we become more efficient rather than just busier. Okay, guys, I hope everybody's having a great week. I hope everybody has a great week. If you have any questions, concerns, or need anything else, remember you can contact me below. Have a great day, great week. See you guys later.